the top 5 questions about President Trump immigration policies. We talk about it. It's been a week now. What can we say about it? You have a lot of questions. First and foremost, don't forget to click on the button so you follow the page and you won't miss any notification. Now, let's get into it. Now, when we're talking about those most important questions, the first one is the one about the birthright citizenship. Under the new executive order, President Trump basically upended 150 years of immigration policy. The birthright citizenship is actually codified under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, stating that any individual, any person born on U.S. soil is actually a U.S. citizen. This is actually the simplified version. There are some exceptions, obviously, for children of diplomats, but under the new executive order, the president actually directed all the agency and basically stating in this executive order that any person who is born to parents who do not have a permanent residency in the United States or here in the U.S. illegally are not considered U.S. citizen. Now, what happened is basically this particular order will come into effect in 30 days on February 19, meaning every child, every baby that is born after February 19, 2025 will not be considered a U.S. citizen. Now, the first question is, will that survive legal challenges? Because as you can imagine, we have the Democratic state that filed several lawsuits against the administration. We have the main one on the West Coast in Seattle and the other one in Massachusetts. We have a third one also filed by ACLU. We already have a judge that actually granted an injunction up to February 6th, allowing the government and obviously the Democratic state to file brief on whether they should actually extend the injunction all the way past February 19. And this is very important. When a party files an injunction, it means that they can show that if the law or the executive order will come into effect, that will actually pose a grave prejudice to one of the party of the injured party, right? And this is basically what they're trying to argue here. The state that they have to show that they have standing, and they argue that the babies that will be born after February 19 may find themselves stateless, will be deprived of their right, for example, the right to have a social security number, the right then to work when they become adult, and so on and so forth. Meaning the judge has expressed really surprise, and basically stated that this executive order was unconstitutional. All of this to say, why is this happening? What the Republicans are actually planning to do is to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. They know that it will be, challenged. They knew that. They were ready. They expect that, of course, if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, because they have the majority, on the Supreme Court here, that most of the justices actually been nominated by Republican president, they hope that there will be a rewriting and that will be a big change as far as who is considered a U.S. citizen. Now, there will be the first question, meaning that we will keep you updated, but this is something that you can expect that to see. But as after the first question, it will go probably all the way to the Supreme Court, and then at the end, we will know what happened. Now, practical tip, what does that mean? If the injunction is actually granted on all of these matters, different court, because the challenge is in front of different judges, it means that the executive order does not come into effect. It means that nothing has changed for people who are born after February 19. The babies born after February 19 will still be U.S. citizen because the law will not change at that point until we have a final decision from the court whether this executive order is actually legal. That's number one. Now, number two, as far as what will actually, with the mass deportation will reach the scale. We keep hearing about mass deportation. And of course, this is one of the campaign promise of the administration. President Trump campaigned on that, and his base is very, very eager to see those mass deportation. But mass deportation is one thing, to say, to have this presented as such, but as far as having the funds, right? Because it requires a lot of funds, a lot of manpower. You need to have the detention center. It is not actually as easy as it seems. We have seen today with the raid in Chicago that the border czar was actually, with ICE, and he did make some statement here. I'm paraphrasing, that they are targeting first people who have committed crime, meaning that they're talking about violent criminal, serious criminal. That's basically what he was alluding to. But he also raised the issue that if during the raids, actually, if the raid just happened to catch some people who are undocumented but not criminal, then they will actually move forward with the detention and so on and so forth. And this is very important. You may be asking yourself, what will happen? Because when we're talking about this mass deportation, you have to remember that you still have your rights. You have your rights. If you find yourself in detention or if you find yourself in front of ICE, you need to know your right. We have some videos on the channel as far as your right, and you need to remember that. Make sure that you exercise your right. Number two, if you are eligible for a defense against deportation, whether you've been in detention, you will still be able to exercise that. Of course, you will have the time constraint may actually put pressure on you. That's why it is actually better if you can, explore this. You can reach out, to a lawyer and try to see exactly what you're eligible for. Is it through a family member of yours? Is it actually maybe on humanitarian level? Is it a Chi visa? Is it a U visa? Is it VAWA? Is it humanitarian such as in the asylum? I'm not really sure. But if you are eligible for something, you should not actually drag your feet. Now, you have to see, okay, if you file this, and once you file the application, obviously you will have the proof with you. Now, I know that some of you are very overwhelmed. It's about, okay, should we even go to work? Should we even go to school? This is something I think the school have actually indicated that they will not allow ICE on their premises. They directed ICE to the superintendent office, in those particular cities, and I think that will actually continue. I think it's probably preferable to try to create a sense of peace, for the children, because obviously they are aware of this, but I believe that, keeping them at home probably will exacerbate the anxiety. But at the end of the day, any parents have to make that decision. But you do have right, and this is very important for you to know. Now, the next question, also the third question, is what about the sanctuary city? What about the sanctuary state? Will they be able to resist, the assault from the administration? One thing for sure is that President Trump indicated that he will actually take legal action against the sanctuary city, the sanctuary state. Here we are in this particular intent of putting maximum pressure for them to actually cave. Why? Because this is the federal government. Most of the states also in their budget, they need federal funds. They think at this point, that's what they will do. And even to take them in court. Now, whether this will survive in court, because we do have also a non-profit organization. I just read about it a few hours ago. They filed a lawsuit against the government. They took the government, but lawsuit for basically the government coming after the freedom of speech, because they actually stood and said that they were a sanctuary city. Now, will the court agree with them that the fact to designate itself as a sanctuary city, as a sanctuary state, and the government coming after you, is that actually an attack on the First Amendment on the freedom of speech? As you can see, there is a lot of legal challenges. This is what you need to remember. We entering actually a phase and era where there will be a lot of legal challenges, because when you see the narrative on TV, you may be thinking it's loop-sided, right? Yes, it's the federal government, but this is actually also a country of law. Meaning that the executive, the president, does not have all the power. You have the executive, you have the legislative, and you have the judiciary. And that's also, if you feel as a person, as an organization, that you have standing, that you've been an injured party, you go to court. And that's basically what's happening here, meaning people are not just standing there and doing nothing, right? Because you cannot just exceed your power. And when it goes in front of the court, then you will have to go through the process, and it can take a while, but we will have an answer. If it's not satisfactory, then any party can go to the Court of Appeal, and then probably it may end up even before the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court decides to hear the case. Meaning this is also something that you should know. Now, also another question, which country will face travel ban? Because if we remember, during the first mandate, we did have countries that were facing travel ban, mostly Muslim country, right? Meaning country where you have Muslim as a religion, and that was challenged in court, like I was telling you previously, and it was actually declared illegal and unconstitutional, and the executive order actually, went, and just went, no, it was actually cancelled. Now, we don't know for the moment whether there will be a travel ban yet, but that may happen, because we can see that probably that may happen, but we don't know yet. But they know that they are getting ready for that. We may see something coming up in the next few days. We just, and we will keep you posted. But that's something that may happen for sure, for certain. Now, and finally, the fifth question, what will happen to the people who came to, obviously, there was a program, right? If you guys remember, the program that allow, the legal program that allows citizens of Haiti, Venezuela, Nicaragua, obviously to come to the United States under this particular program. What will happen to them? And Cuba, let's not forget. Now that's the part we don't really know, because here we're talking about more than 500,000 people were allowed under this particular program. They have the right to work in the United States. Now they do have those rights. There are two theories, whether they will just be allowed to remain in the United States until their status comes to an expiration, and then they actually will start accruing unlawful presence, aka they will be here illegally and they may be subject to deportation. Or either the government will come aggressively even after them, even now, before their status has expired. That's also an option. We don't really know, but the Department of Homeland Security indicated this week that they may actually strip those of you who have this beneficiary of this particular program. They will restrict off your parole status on a case-by-case basis. Now, we don't know exactly what does that mean on a case-by-case basis. What will make the difference? What will be the criteria? What will be taken in consideration? This is something, obviously that we need to monitor. But obviously, one thing for sure, we will keep you posted. But this is only at the end of the first week of the Trump immigration policy. I hope that answers a little bit of your question. But as you start the new week and as we're moving forward, first and foremost, you need to know what are your rights. We do have some information, some guides as far as what in both language, in French and English, for those of you who are interested. Number two, you need to make plans. You need to make plans for your family, for those of you who have children. Even if you don't have children, make sure that you share your location on your phone, right? You put the setting at all time. Because if you find yourself in detention, unfortunately, nobody can call you. You're the one who can call. Meaning by having location, then the family can put money on your account, and then you will be able to obviously put some call out, and get in touch with your family and loved one, and then also get in touch with a lawyer. This is very important for you to know. And finally, you're eligible for something. Try to explore that and find. If you have filed, make sure that you have the copy of whatever you find with you. Talk to a lawyer to try to see as far as the strategy. But we will make some other video about that. But make sure that you have all of this information with you. And I hope this was useful to you. Don't forget to follow this page. Thank you so much, and courage. Don't give up. You have right, because if you believe that you don't, that's already half of the work has been done. Never, ever give up, ever.